Hey, how you doing? This is RJ. I've gotten a number of requests lately to do another video about crowdfunded comics, because I used to do those kinds of videos all the time, but I haven't done one lately because the last time I did a crowdfunded comic video, I really just included comics that looked good to me. I didn't care about who produced them. Some of them were from people from Comicsgate, and some of them were from people who weren't from Comicsgate. And the problem was that the people who weren't from Comicsgate jumped on my head and said, I don't want to be associated with those people. I don't want to be associated with a quote-unquote hate group, because of course Comicsgate is a hate group because they demand merit and a good product above everything else, and in the modern day and age apparently that makes you a hate group. So the thing was, I said to myself, okay, the next time I do one, I'll probably do a little bit more research. And it just seemed like too much work to do one of those videos again if I had to do that research. So at this point, I'm just saying I don't give a damn. I am just going to, again, look at what I think are good comics. And if you don't want me promoting your comic, then yes, I will take it out of the list of the crowdfunded comics that I link in the description of every video I do to help sell crowdfunded comics. I will take it out of that list. But I will not delete any videos. I will not delete any tweets. I will not delete any hashtags. And if you don't like it, grow a thicker skin. So what I do with these comics is I put them on a list, and I'm going to give you 9 here today, and they go from the ones that have the least amount of time left in their campaign. Now with Indiegogo, you can extend the campaign and then put it into a store, so some of them might actually extend their campaign after this video is done, but at the time of doing this, that is why I am putting them in this order. So the first one is Samurai and Dinosaurs, graphic novel. An elite group of samurai go toe-to-toe against Jurassic beasts displaced in time. So the basic story of this is that you have these feudal samurai, and outside of their village, there opens up this portal in time to a Jurassic era, and you have these dinosaurs pouring through, and they have to figure out a way to close this. And that's basically what the story is about. And it is a graphic novel which was done in 2010, and so what they're hoping to do with this is not just to reprint all of the stories in a graphic novel, but also, if they get enough money, to add some things to this book as well. Some pages and a few other things is what they're hoping to do. Now, the art for this is very stylized. It actually reminds me of something like Samurai Rabbit, if anybody remembers Samurai Rabbit from the 90s, 80s and 90s. Anyways, and that's what it looks like. It's very stylized, but at the same time, it's very detailed work. This art is very detailed in a stylized way, and if you can get into it, you will probably not ever want to see these characters outside of this artwork ever again. It will just become ingrained as part of the story, I find, with these kinds of comics. So, if the art grabs you, if it sounds like an interesting concept, certainly go check it out. The next one is one that one of my subscribers actually brought to my attention and wanted me to promote. It's called Boston Metaphysical Society, The Spirit of Rebellion. Ghosts, steampunk, oh my. Caitlin flees to Philadelphia only to discover a ghost, a rebellion, and perhaps her destiny. So there were 2 former books for these characters. However, you don't have to read the 2 other books in order to read this story because it's a standalone story. But I do believe there's a tier here where you can get all 3 of them, and the tier that you start off with a physical copy is $10, so not a whole lot of money. It seems great. I like this art. It really goes with the idea of late 18th century, which is when this takes place, and steampunk. I would say more with the late 18th century because I don't see a whole lot of steampunk in the pages that I'm looking at for this comic, but certainly I love the whole late 1800s kind of style that this artist brings to this project. The next one is Millennials, issue 1 through 3, an ongoing action drama comic series that follows superheroes fighting against crime and a bloodthirsty anti-hero. Now, when I read about this at first, and it's about millennial superheroes, I said to myself, yeah, that's probably not for me. But when I started to look at this art, they give you the progression of the artist and how he went from his penciling to his finished art, and the finished art just looks amazing. This is someone, I'd say, who should be working for Marvel or DC, on one of its second-tier books at least, because this is just amazing, beautiful art. That's what grabbed my attention. And the story doesn't sound too bad either. You have these young heroes. They want to make themselves a team. They want to make themselves a name. And they're tracking down this anti-hero who's basically just going around killing criminals with a sword. And for the perks for this, you can get all 3 issues signed for $12. Now that's a really good price for these books. And again, with this quality of art, that is certainly something to look at to spend $12 on. Next we have Beastmode Arrival Issue 1. Beastmode Arrival Issue 1 is a 24-page adventure-style comic starring a race of people who can turn into beasts. When I looked at this first, I said to myself, someone watched a little too much Thundercats or maybe Animorphs when they were a kid. But honestly, when I looked at this art and the story, it actually looks really, really good. Again, this is someone who is passionate about their art and should be producing comics for Marvel or DC. I would say this style of art would go much better with DC than Marvel. And the story revolves around these people from another planet, and their planet got destroyed, so they had to find a new place to live. They found the Earth, and they start to settle there, but some of them think that the human beings are so fragile and weak that they should basically just take over the planet. And half of them think they should do this, and half of them think they shouldn't. So it really sounds like an interesting storyline, and you can get the first issue for $10. And for this book, it really looks like a nice science fiction fantasy combination, because you have these people and they're from another planet, so you got your sci-fi there, and yet they fight with armor and swords and can transform into beasts, so you got your fantasy there as well. It looks really good. Now, the next one on this list, for me, is actually one of the top 2 on this list. It is Crown and Anchor, Book 1, Legends No More. And it is for all of you anime manga fans out there, because you have these creators, and what they're hoping to do with this book is to create a style which bridges the gap between anime, manga, and a North American comic. And I have to say, looking at this comic, they accomplished that beautifully. It looks superbly done. This is some of the most intricate art I have seen in a crowdfunded comic in a while. Now, it's all black and white as far as I know, but again, it just looks like it hits the nail straight on the head in trying to combine your anime manga style with your Western comic book style. So the basic story is it's a different world. You have these swashbuckling pirates, and they come across some relics which date back to the beginning of their planet when the gods created their planet. And in exploring these relics, they also get caught up in some political intrigue, and it just seems like a beautiful story. Now, the creators are talking about their inspiration and are talking about things like One Piece and Full Metal Alchemist, but honestly, to me, if you know anime manga, it really looks to me like Grand Blue Fantasy. Now, that was a superb product. It was, and I can see it happening here with this book, the same kind of thing, because there was some slow parts to that, and the thing was that you didn't mind the slow parts so much because the art was just amazing. It was just spectacular. And I can see that happening with this book as well. There is a bit of a higher price point with this book. You'll have to pay $30. Well, that's $30 Canadian. So US, that would probably be around like $22, I'd say. So you're paying $30 Canadian for this book where you get 140 plus pages. So $30 for 140 plus pages, that's not too bad actually. And certainly when it looks like this spectacular art and the creators are saying, all you need is this book. To jump onto this universe, all you need is this book. And I think that if anybody jumps onto it, they will not want to jump off anytime soon. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you can actually go and read this book online right now if you want, for free. All you have to do is to go to the Kickstarter page and you can find the link there to go and read it for free. Now, the next one is the one that really prompted me to do this video. It is Chaox Flux, number 1, Aliens vs. Monsters Part 1. A ragtag super team, a dying Earth, a plague of mutant abominations, and a genocidal dark entity. So there is a lot going on with this story, and again, it looks to be well done. Especially the art. I'm looking at the art. It is, again, extremely beautiful art. This is someone who should be working for Marvel or DC. It reminds me of art from the 90s from continuity comics. Comics like Cyber Rad or Megalith or Zero Patrol. That's what it reminds me of. This is the kind of story that it looks like. And the author is going for that 90s kind of style. The story is supposed to be a little dark. It's supposed to have a dark sort of Watchmen feel to it, while at the same time building a group of heroes that is something like the origin of Avengers, where they all came together for a common goal. Now, the first tier where you can get the book in this is $10, which is pretty good, especially when you consider the level of quality with this art. And I've been informed by the person running this campaign that they will be fulfilling all of their orders for this book. Whether or not they reach their goal or not, they intend to ship this book out. Oh, and the storyline. It's set in 2179. There was a cataclysm on the Earth, and it wiped out most of humanity. And then the Earth got invaded by this dark entity who decided to wipe out the rest of humanity. And at the same time, you have a plague of mutant abominations coming into the mix as well. So, a very deep story that the creators are looking to draw out. Next we have Monkey and Peach. Unlikely champions embark on a mythical adventure of identity, self-discovery, and friendship. Now, when I look at these Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns, when I see something that says it's a journey of self-discovery, usually I read a little farther down and go, yeah, that's not for me. But this actually looks really, really good. You have your Far Eastern setting, and the basic storyline is that hundreds of years ago, in the past of this world, there were monsters that came into the world, and a group of heroes had to be formed in order to fight them. But they were all fought back and never seen again, until the time where this comic takes place, and these monsters start to re-emerge again, and a new group of heroes needs to be put together in order to fight these monsters off. The first tier where you can get a physical copy of this 46-page book is $15, but when I'm looking at this art, I think that $15 is actually worth it. This artist just has a whole bunch of sketches on this page. He has the town and buildings and the inside of buildings and the outsides of buildings, and it just looks like a labor of love, and it certainly shows in the art, and I hope that the story can keep up with this art because, again, spectacular art on this project. Next we have Infinity Agents #1, an adventure-filled intergalactic epic. This ongoing series focuses on a small, internationally funded organization called Infinite Border Security Agency, a secret group of operatives who investigate alien encounters on Earth or in space. So what the creator of this story is trying to do, he's trying to build a Kirby-esque world, something that draws from the Fantastic Four, Doom Patrol, Challengers of the Unknown, Marvel, Guardians of the Galaxy. He's trying to make a Kirby-esque world. He's trying to build a universe with these characters and this story arc. The first pledge that you have a physical copy on is $15. And again, this art, I have to say, it reminds me of really, really good 90s independent comics. Now, I have to put a little asterisk on this comic just because the creator of this comic said in the video that he will probably be incorporating some social commentary into the later books if he gets there. So the next one is Goodland #1, and its tagline is, "Whistleblowing ain't easy." Now, I have to honestly say, I'm really not entirely sure what the entire storyline for this comic is, but it intrigues me nonetheless, because it has a bit of a tagline. It says, an adware developer is exiled after rising through the ranks of the elite and making enemies with a dark entity. So basically what I can glean from this is that this dark entity is using mass media and a few other avenues to control the minds of most of the people on the planet. And this fellow extracts himself from that influence and basically is trying to stay alive. Again, with this one, we have a darker kind of story, and we have stylized art. But again, you have an artist which is very familiar with his stylized art and can pull this off very, very well. And the first perk that you can get a physical copy of this for is $15. Alright, so that's my list of 9 really good crowdfunded comics that you can look up today. And just to let you know, In the description of every one of my videos, I list all of the crowdfunded comics that have an open campaign that I have covered. So if you ever want to go and look them up, the link will be in the description for every video. It's always there. And the only reason I would take one out either is because the campaign is ended or because someone doesn't want me promoting their book. So you can find the links there if you want to go look up any of these books. I tried to cover a number of different genres, a number of different kinds of comics, and hopefully I've piqued your interest with at least one of these. If I did, hit like. Hit the shield in the lower right hand corner of your screen to subscribe, and leave me a comment. Tell me if there's any other open crowdfunded campaigns that you want people to know about. And you can put the link for those in the comments as well. And I'll make sure they get through the YouTube algorithm that tries to stop people from posting web pages in the comments. I'll make sure it gets in there so that everybody can see it. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.